Hi y'all, it's DBR back for another video, and this video is going to be a very interesting video, a very personal video, and a video that I am so very thankful to be able to record for all of you guys. I get questions on the daily about what it's like to be adopted and how I feel, having parents that are of a different race and another skin tone than myself. And with that being said, I would really like to touch on all of those questions and answer all of those for you with a collaboration that I have done with the Adoption Guide magazine and article publishing company. So without further ado, I'm going to answer all those burning questions. It might get personal, but we'll make it through. I hope you guys enjoy. Alrighty guys, let's get started. Bring on the questions.
First question. Tell me about yourself.
Okay. I would describe myself to be a very gender non-conforming human being and very gender fluid. I feel that is my responsibility to be putting out the kind of image and the kind of change that I expect to see in the world. I would like to put that out, so other people and other kids that might be questioning or can't quite figure it out can have a role model or someone that looks like them. So I am a person for the people. So I would definitely consider myself to be an extension of the people and an extension of what I would like to see in the world moving forward is how I would describe myself.
Okay. And your next question is, what was your childhood like?
Jeez. Well, I always used to say that I never really had a childhood. Growing up in the family that I grew up in, I felt like it was always go, 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 and it was always business, and it was more work and less play, for sure. That whole motto, work hard, play hard, was never really a thing. There was no such thing in this family. It was, we work first and work later. So I didn't really get to experience a childhood like many other kids in America got to.
Okay. And next question, what do you do for a living?
I am a licensed cosmetologist, a licensed esthetician, and a licensed barber, and I guess make people beautiful for a living. I mean, who doesn't want to look like me?
Very beautiful at that. Do you enjoy your work?
Oh, love it. Hands down, I wouldn't trade it for the world.
What are some of your hobbies? Even other than doing beauty and makeup. All this.
My hobbies have really become my aspirations, I feel. I have a deep, deep passion with entertainment and music and singing, and I always thought if I wasn't going to be doing this, I'd be, a singer somewhere headlining a show. So my hobbies are more than a hobby. They're really aspirations that I have yet to chase.
Not a lot of people say that. Other people just say, I do this, I do that, but that's really powerful right there. In 3 words, describe your personality.
Eccentric, authentic, and stern, for sure. I would say stern.
All right. Are you currently in a relationship?
Please, who has time for that?
Are you at least talking to somebody?
I don't know. I mean, what I mean, I can do I entertain the idea? I do entertain the idea, but honestly and truthfully, um, anybody who's as serious as about building a brand and building an empire as I probably wouldn't have as much time on their hands to date or seek a partner.
Okay. But do you eventually want that to happen? Even as you're, you know, getting older and you want to get married or something like that, do you want it to happen?
Well, I feel the appropriate answer is that everybody at some point would like that. Everyone's envisioned what that would be like, the nice house and the white picket fence, but I just don't feel like it's something that I am going to put very high on my to-do list. But of course, I believe if it's going to happen, God will make it possible. If not, then it wasn't meant to be.
It's true. That's so true. As an adoptive child, what are your relationships with your parents?
Okay, well, that's a pretty interesting question because I do have several sets of parents. So, being an adopted child, I have my foster parents who I had until from the day I was born up until 2 years old. They were there for me. They kept me until I found a permanent home that my foster mother actually picked for me in a way. Um, and my relationship with them, my mother and father over there on that side, um, I absolutely love them both to pieces, and we have the greatest relationship because they didn't directly raise me, 24/7 like each and every day of my life, but they were a big part of who I am today. So we're more of a they're more friends to me than an authority figure, but I feel like a lot of me comes from them, so I consider them to be parents for sure, and people who have really had my best interest at heart. And for my adoptive family, um, I would say the same as any other parent child relationship. You go through things, you say I hate you, then you say I love you. So it's just the way of the world. That's just the way the world goes round. So I would say our relationship is pretty good.
Next question. How would you describe their parenting style?
Whew. Now we get into the fun stuff. Um, their parenting style is none like I've ever seen. You know, there's no book on how to be a perfect parent, but there's a million ways to be a really good one, as I like to say. And I feel like their style is just, they winged it. They took the good from their childhood and what they've learned, and they applied all of those things to our lives. And I quickly realized that as I saw the dynamic of my grandparents and my parents, and I understood why my parents kind of do the things that they do, because they only do what they know. And that's what people need to understand about parents. you know there is no perfect way to be a perfect parent, and there's no instruction manual. You just do what you know. And their style was really taking bits and pieces from what they've seen and what they've learned, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, and they applied it to their own families. And me sitting before you, I think they did a pretty damn good job. So I would commend their parenting style for both families.
Oh, that's good. How do you think your upbringing has shaped you?
Oh, it's shaped me totally. I feel I am who I am today. I'm this likable, very charismatic, outgoing, overly proud human being, and I don't know where I would have been without my tough at times, but very necessary upbringing. I feel that that structure really helped me in the long run. Yeah, did I miss out on feeling like a normal kid at times? And yeah, maybe. But in the grand scheme of things, you spend more of your life as an adult than a child, anyways. So I think that those years that I didn't get to do those childish things has really helped me. And it has turned me into a very fun and overzealous adult. So I think that it did wonders for me.
What is your community like?
See, my community never really bothered me as a child. I mean, you just adapt to what you know. You adapt to what you know, you adapt to what you don't know. And I feel like being from a family with such privilege, we could have chosen anywhere else in the world to be, but we chose the middle of the ghetto, whatever that means, in a very blue collar neighborhood that wasn't always the best growing up. People getting shot on every other block. Like, we definitely didn't belong here. Someone with so much status and, um, white privilege, as they say. But this is the where they chose to raise us all, so we would be around other people and we wouldn't feel so isolated. People of our own color, that is, and we would be in an environment in which we were familiar, so we didn't seem so ostracized and kind of like the fly on the wall at an all white school or whatever the case may be. Like, she wanted us to grow up with our kind. So, my community, I tip my hat to the community because that has also, given me a sense of identity being an African American in this world.
What do you think your parenting style will be like?
Oh, the polar opposite. The polar opposite of both sets of my parents. I feel, and I'm not saying that they did a bad job, not at all, but I feel like um, you get what's that saying? You get more sugar than with a stick, or you get yeah, you something like that. I feel like mine was very harsh and very cutthroat and very dry. Uh, I didn't to me, I didn't experience a whole lot of "I love you" moments. I didn't experience a whole lot of hugs and kisses, and mommy brought me this home today. Like, I didn't get any of that as a child, and I feel like that's so very important to tell your child every day that they could be president, and you know, little things like that really shape a child's mind, and I would definitely go above and beyond to let my children know that they can do and complete anything in this world, and that just wasn't done to me. That it wasn't done for me. That wasn't an option for me as a kid. So I feel more obligated, more than anything, to be a positive light that my kids can be proud of, because we're not just raising, and this goes for everyone, we're not just raising, you know, a thing. We're raising people. And if my children aren't good people, then I have failed.
Anything that your parents have taught you, would you change that when you get ready to have a child? Meaning, would you do the same thing they did for your child? Would you do that same thing?
Um, Possibly. I would alter it. Obviously, I would put my own stamp on it for sure. Uh, but I would definitely let it be known that, you know, I learned it from somewhere. And I feel like that is something that we all need to just admit. You know, raising a child, you're not going to have all the answers. You're not going to have, it's like a puzzle. You're not going to have all the pieces. But lo and behold, you were given the tools. You were given the tools by your parents. So it'd be wise for me to use them. Just maybe not exactly to the T.
How well do you understand the adoption process?
Very well. But the process is really irrelevant. It's, just the fact that the whole goal of adoption, or the key to adoption, or the thing to appreciate most about adoption, is the fact that you were chosen. That means a lot. Whether you like your situation or not, you were still chosen. And a lot of kids in this world don't have that feeling because, I was handpicked. There's nothing like it.
What do you know about some of the unique challenges faced by children who come home through adoption?
Well, clearly, I can really only speak for myself and the challenges that I have come across. But however, being in the system and being systematically oppressed at some point, and all of that, I have met so many wonderful people that have been through so many different kinds of things, and rape and abuse, and um, you know not feeling a sense of normalcy, and feeling like they just don't belong, feeling lost and abandoned. Feeling abandoned is the number one feeling that you feel. you know all kids that have been adopted, typically that's their response to that, because the average kid just doesn't know what it feels like to have lived through an adoption or foster process. But I feel like that's made us stronger people, and it'll make us better people in the long run, a different kind of person.
What are your hopes for your child?
They don't end up like me. And I mean that in the nicest way. You can admire me, but I would hope that you see my mistakes, you see my flaws, you see where I went wrong as a child, and you strive very hard to change that. I wouldn't want I wouldn't want my child to experience what I experienced, not one bit. I would want better for them. That would be what I strive for when I have a kid, for sure. To give them what I didn't have, and the brains I didn't have, to make wiser decisions and choices, for sure.
What did your parents do that you feel made the biggest impact in making you feel secure, confident, and proud of your story? Is there anything else you wish they would have done?
Secure, confident,
Secure, confident.
secure, confident, and proud. What did they do to make me feel secure, confident, and proud? Nothing. Not a single thing. Um, they just raised us as if we were theirs from the jump. And I think that's all you really need to do. Don't make them feel like an outsider or different from the beginning. You know, that's all they needed to do, and they did that very well. So, um, but as far as like what did they go out of their way to do? Not a single thing.
Nothing at all.
Not that I can recall.
Alright. Next question. How can we celebrate our children's adoptions and our journeys to them while also not constantly placing that as the key of their identity?
How can we celebrate our adopted children? I feel like in my household, we did something where I have found to be a very common theme in kids that have been adopted, where they sort of have like a dual birthday that just so happens to fall on different days. Like I used to tell people that in when I was in middle school and when I was in high school, like, yeah, I have two birthdays, and they're like, what? I was born twice. No, but there's something called that we call it a gotcha day. And so we take the day that we were adopted and we celebrate. There's a special book, and we read that special book, and we go around and we pass around, we discuss, what's so special about the opportunity and the life that we all have that we probably wouldn't have been able to, if it weren't for adoption. We wouldn't be living the life that we live. And it's a time to be grateful. It's kind of like our adopted Thanksgiving. We really give thanks for that moment and all that that means. So I feel like just creating a special day that is solely dedicated to that adopted child or children um, will do wonders for their mind, will make them feel accepted, will make them feel loved, um, will really make them feel good. Because during that time, during like on my gotcha day, I feel the most special that I've ever felt, ever. It just, brings me back to, being handpicked. It really is an amazing feeling.
Does that make you feel like you you were like the most prized possession when you got handpicked?
But it doesn't make me feel grand. It's just most people don't get that. Well, the rest of the world doesn't get that option. Whatever kid you have, whether it's good, bad, or indifferent, you're stuck with that kid. That's it.
Did people ever ask your parents intrusive and sometimes inappropriate questions about you while you were right there? And how did your parents respond, or how do you wish they responded?
Um, uh, at times I feel like there were conversations that were inappropriate to even be discussing whether we were in the room or whether we weren't, because oftentimes people feel like because you're a family friend or you're close that you have a right to know certain things, and you just absolutely do not. And it's not your place to ask anything. I don't care how long you've been friends with my mom or dad. That's totally irrelevant. I feel like that most of those things are private matters, and I would hope that my parents didn't feed into it, but they always did. They always answered whatever was asked, whether it was inappropriate or not. And I can't really give specifics because I don't remember any at this time, but it's really something that we've had several conversations about that I wish didn't take place.
So as that was happening, did you ever like turn the other cheek? Like, did you ever walk away?
I
Or
walked
did
away
you?
every time. I walk away every time because it's not my place to interject, especially um, being young. Like, this is stuff that happened years ago. As an adult, I would have definitely said something, and it wouldn't have been pretty.
What is your earliest memory of feeling like you didn't belong, and how did your parents handle the situation? Is there anything your parents could have done differently?
My earliest memory about when I didn't belong. I think the first holiday trip that we embarked on that I can remember, because I am the last of seven children, so I was the youngest. And although there were many trips before me and before my adoption, and when I wasn't old enough to remember. But the trip that I do remember most, um, my earliest one, had to have been when I really noticed the difference. I had to have been in my early teens. I want to say 13, 14, and we were going away for Thanksgiving like we always do. But that particular time, it felt a little different. It felt a little odd because I noticed the stares, and I noticed the mumbling and the whispering about all the black children that came through. And all my extended family are Caucasian people. So, it doesn't make you feel good, but that's the first time where I felt really ostracized, and I really didn't belong. Just because we're black, that doesn't mean that we're not family. We're just a part of this family, just as anyone else was. But we never felt that way. We always felt like the black sheep. So um, it was hard.
What are the three best traits your parents installed in your upbringing?
You know, to deal with problems head on. To be very vocal, boisterous. That's the word. That would be the trait. To be very boisterous, especially when you don't like something. And it's okay to speak up, and it's okay to get your point across. It might not be the nicest way to do it, but you have to speak your truth. And I think that's the most important thing I've learned from them. And also, separate business and personal. You know, I've learned that better than anyone from the family businesses. You There's gonna be days where you're not in the mood, but you gotta put it aside, because what's professional is professional and what's inappropriate is inappropriate. And the last one would probably be just to accept other people's differences. You're not gonna like everyone, you're not gonna agree with everything everyone does, but just be kind and keep your mouth shut, as my dad would say.
Do you ever remember being told you were adopted, or was it known part of your story from the get go? How often did you talk about it as a family? Were your conversations ever forced and awkward, or just natural?
Um, well, first of all, a lot of people say, oh, kids don't see color. We most certainly do. We do. Because I saw color. I don't care what anybody says. I saw color. And I feel like it's not something that needs to be told to you when you look different. And I know that kind of takes away from everything that I try to portray. Like, I don't want people to take a look at someone's skin and go, that can't be, or that's different, or that's not right. Like, I don't want people to use somebody's skin color as a reason to um, be mean or be spiteful, or, whatever the case might be. But in the grand scheme of things, what's obvious is obvious. And you don't need to tell me that it didn't come from you. I can see it. You know, two whites don't make black. They just don't. So, if I was light skinned, I probably would have never noticed. But this chocolate baby right here did not come from two white people.
How did your family interact with, or talk about, or treat your biological family?
Well, I am thankful that they've never had the opportunity to be in the same room together. because I can only imagine that that wouldn't go very well. And I hope I'm really not speaking that into existence, but I don't believe that a family that is very racist towards white people should um, be in contact with the very white people that my family members accuse me of using all that they taught me as a way or as an attempt or effort to stand above them. I'm not trying to stand above you. I am above you. Who I am as a person is above who you are as a person. It has nothing to do with who I was raised by. It has nothing to do with the color of somebody's skin. It has to do with the character of that human being. Everybody has one, and that has nothing to do with race. This is not a race issue. This is a personality conflict, and I feel that would be bad, bad blood, bad for business. So, thankfully, I don't have stories to share about that encounter, and I hope it never occurs.
But does your adopted family actually want to meet your biological family?
No. My mom was against it from the beginning, and she's still against it, and she's always been um, pro me. She wants me to be happy, so whatever is going to make me happy, she does. And my dad's just sort of kind of along for the ride, but they could care less about knowing. They actually slammed the door on one of my birth family. You know, the relatives that they have met, they were very rude to them in person. So, um, no, that's not.
What is the hardest part or season of life growing up as an adoptee? How did your parents help you navigate through that time?
What was the hardest season? The hardest season was going through the stages of abandonment and grief and all of that. Um, that's something that you just don't quite get over. It's a hurdle you can't jump, and those are feelings that I had to battle with and I had to deal with on my own. There was no comfort. There was no. We didn't get that kind of reinforcement that it was okay to feel those feelings. You dealt with it on your own if you were dealing with it, because my parents wanted no part of it. They did not want to hear what we were going through, because even if they, sat there and listened, there's no way that they would even understand what it felt like. You can't understand something you've never lived through. You can have sympathy, but you can never understand unless you've walked a mile in that person's shoes. So it was just a conversation that was never discussed.
Do you think they don't care?
It wouldn't benefit them to care. So, in my personal opinion, I don't think that they care, because it doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things to them how we feel at any given time, because that's for us to work through. You know, we're adults now. It's up to us to determine what happens from here. So they have no reason to care.
Have you ever felt that your adopted family wasn't actually your family as you became an adult? And if you nurtured your biological relationship, did you lose any need for your adopted family?
My family has never felt like family. Not once. Not that I can really remember. I like to call it happy roommates, because that's all we've ever been. Although I used to lay up and I used to picture and I used to want a family unit I think that's why I want marriage and kids so bad, because I want to do my childhood over the way that I would have wanted. I look at reality TV, I look at people like the Kardashians and go, why can't this be that? And I get very sad that my relationships with these people who are supposed to be my siblings, on paper that is, have no interest for each other. I wish we were something that we're not. And unfortunately, we're never going to be. So, it is what it is.
Why do you think that your adoptive mother won't talk about your real mom? Your birth mom?
Well, because you can't talk about something you don't know. All of my paperwork legally with my parents' name, all of that, what happened to them during the trial, when her rights were stripped, all of that stays with the foster mother, who I'm still in contact with, who I mentioned earlier. Legally, that paperwork cannot be seen, cannot be made copy of to the adoptive parents, so there's no information for them to discuss with me. But because everyone is in touch with their foster mother with that information, we would have to go to them to find out what the next step would be if we wanted to find who we came from. Um, Adoptive parents are not in the loop for a reason. The system is set up that way for a reason, so that there aren't any conflicts and there aren't a million videos of this surfacing everywhere of what it felt like for kids to um, have such a secret or have such a topic kept from them growing up. So they just honestly just don't get the information. So there's no issues.
How did your adoptive mother feel when you found your biological mother?
Yeah, that's a tough question to answer because I can't tell you what she felt. I can tell you what it looked like, and she wasn't happy. I know she wasn't happy. There was probably a ton of emotions going through her head. I can't put my finger on it or say exactly what it was because I don't know exactly what it was, and I can't sit here and act like I know what went on in her head when in all actuality I do not. So I would really just say that it couldn't have been easy.
Next question. Do you think your birth mom regrets the decisions she have made? In other words, before you were given up, do you think she regrets everything that has happened?
Well, while it was happening, probably not. Because when you're an addict and you know, you're messed up in so many different ways, you're not thinking about that. Now that she's been clean for probably more than, 20 years? Now the regrets start to come out. I know that she does regret it now, but as it was happening, I don't believe she had that capacity to even think that far ahead. So, then, no. Now, absolutely, she regrets it.
Mhm. Mhm. Do you feel different or out of place?
Every day. There's not a there's not a day that doesn't go by where I'm I just I'm angry all the time. Not at someone specifically. Like my anger's not directed at anybody, but I just have to learn to accept that I'll never feel however I'm supposed to feel, which I still haven't quite figured that part out yet. But I know that whatever being a regular black person looks like, I'll never have that feeling. Whatever being a part of a regular black family looks like, I'll never know what that looks like. Like, there's things about being a black African American person in America that I just will never know. And that sucks.
As seeing life and living as an adoptive child, would you ever adopt or not? On why?
God, no. I would never adopt because of what I went through. I don't think it's fair to put anybody else through the trauma, and no. I couldn't be responsible for putting another human being through what I went through. I could have been the best parent in the world, but those feelings of abandonment and being unsure, those come with you no matter how good the parenting was. So absolutely not. I will not contribute to that. No way.
Does those type of things replay in your head as you are getting older?
I feel like the mistakes my parents made are it's on a reel. It really is on a reel. And especially when I think about kids and marriage, and when I think about all that, I think about what fear I have to do those things, because I feel I've been so many people, the system, my adoptive parents, my foster parents, they all have failed me to no avail. So it's my mission not to be a failure in whichever route I choose. I don't want to disappoint my own sprout, so they most certainly have to come from me. I couldn't even think to adopt because of just the experience. That's like being set on fire and then asking your kid, you want to know what I felt when I was a kid when I set myself on fire? Like, you don't put them through that. So,
You just don't want them to hurt.
exactly.
That's understandable. Do you feel like your adopted mom did it for the money? And how would you describe your relationship?
Do I feel like she did it for the money? I felt like, yeah, absolutely, there's money involved. That was probably, um, she probably looked at that and it was very enticing. You know, she wanted kids, yeah, that was the main goal. But if you can get paid too, bonus, especially until they turn 18. That's a long time for somebody with as amazing money management skills as her to stack up all that cash, you know. Um, so, wasn't it incentive? Yeah, I feel. Yeah, my personal opinion, yeah, I feel like that, but solely you don't have kids and go through the responsibility of raising kids for the rest of your life just because you're going to get a few bucks for a few years. So, was the money good? Probably. You know, that was probably, at least I'll be able to take care of them with this money that's coming in so I can adopt as many as I'd like. And she adopted a lot, so I think it worked out, but the money was definitely a good sign for her, I would think. I would have did it. So yeah.
What's your relationship with your adopted mother? How is it like?
I can honestly say that she raised me in her image, hands down. Um, I'm probably more like her than any of my other adopted siblings. and the most like her. Let's just keep it real. Um, she's taught me everything I know. All the success that I have gotten over the years and all the accolades and all that wouldn't have been possible without her. So I feel very honored to be able to call her my mother, for sure. The good, bad, and the ugly, I do it all again.
What were some good and bad times in the house?
Well, with anything, when it's good, it's good. No fights, no arguments, no calls to the police. And when it's bad, it was bad. But oftentimes you need to find the good if there isn't any. And one of my sisters, who I was very close with growing up, we like to say that we fought the forces of evil together. My childhood was rough, but between her and I, we've always found the fun. We made the good times. And there's just too many to list. The good times were the times where she was in it. All the memories I have, if she was in it, those were the good times. If she wasn't in it, and it was something I experienced solo, those were the bad. It's the best way to sum that up. Truly.
I know your mom has a few own businesses. What was it like working for her?
Well, again, jeez, I feel like there's so many things I've learned from that experience. I started working at the age of 8, and I was just like the little waiter, and I was just making a few bucks, and everybody thought I was cute. I'd bring everything to their table, like, do you need any ketchup? Like, it was like, it was a cute little thing. Um, and having the rest of the family there, because it was a family business, also really helped. But I noticed that the empire that she built for herself, that we kind of helped build, uh, I wouldn't change those experiences for the world. I loved the family business when it was a family business. Then when everyone started to bow out gracefully and, you know, go to college here and get a degree there and get a job doing whatever they were passionate about, because, it was a food service business and not everybody wants to work in catering and restaurants for, their life. Uh, I started to take it more seriously, because I felt like I was the only family member that was keeping it a family business. While everyone else had moved on, I was still doing it. And so I must have enjoyed something. And it was because I got to move up rather quickly. And I was the cute waiter. And I became top management in a matter of 2-3 years. And I am somebody who was always destined to be in a position of power. So I feel it has really helped me in my professional life. I can't thank her enough for that experience, for her trusting 8-year-old little me to not damage the family reputation. And still to this day, it's going strong. So I pat myself on the back for that.
What is something you hope all adoptive parents would hear, listen to, and know? Something that your parents modeled that all adoptive parents would do well to model.
Just, I can sum that one up. Just listen to your kids. Listen to them when they tell you they are feeling a certain kind of way. I feel growing up, we were never really heard. We spoke, but we weren't heard, you know. I, or nobody ever listened to us, as I like to say. Listening to what's being told to you and hearing it are two different things. You can hear it, but are you listening? I feel um, our experiences, there could have been more good times, there could have been more positive, there could have been more glow, there could have been more laughs, there could have been more love. But you're never going to know that. You're never going to know the outlook that your kids have unless you ask them, unless you talk to them, unless you spend more time with them. That was something that we all lacked as child and growing up. That was something that I lacked. Then you grow up and you get like me and you go looking for love in all the wrong places. So just listen. Listen to your kids. That's the best advice I can give any adoptive parent, any foster parent. Listen to them. And when they tell you something happened to them, whether it be good, bad, or indifferent, I was raped, I was abused, somebody hit me, somebody at school is bullying me, do something about it. Because I'm one of those people who came forward with those things, and I was never believed, and no one ever listened to me, and no one was trying to help me. Listen to your kids. It's just simple.
Do you feel like if it was different, if they would have done everything that they were supposed to do and listen, you feel like would it have been different or the same?
Well, absolutely. Because with listening comes action. They would have took action, they would have fixed it, they would have changed it, they would have fought for us. They didn't do any of that. We fought for ourselves. So, when you're fighting for yourself, to keep yourself, well, to keep your own head above the water, and the adults that are supposed to be there for you are too worried about their own businesses and their own lives and, you know, making millions of dollars that they forget to be a parent. You know, it's all good and dandy when you're a business owner and you're successful. Sometimes we don't want a boss. Sometimes we just want our mom or we just want our dad. And being in a family business, it was always boss this and boss that. Sometimes I just wanted my parent. So, uh, yeah.
Last question. What is your life like today?
What is my life like today? Better. Not, well, different. I'm more aware. I'm woke. And I stay woke. And I have passion and drive and determination because of everything that I've been through. Um, I'm a successful person in my business. I'm a successful person in my private life. All of that stemmed from all the pain, the hurt, the grief, the lies, the screaming, the shouting, the abuse of my past years. All of that makes this very powerful person sitting here who I am today. I don't think that I would possess as much clout had I not gone through those things. Just gotta learn to let go and let God. So I am a successful professional beautician, person, uncle, cousin, the best son. I'm different. And it's all thanks to my past and the things I've had to work through and the mountains I had to climb to get here. And like I said, although I might not have liked it, might not have enjoyed every minute of it, but I don't think there could have been a better outcome. So I would gladly do it all again. If it meant I could sit here and use my story for good to help anyone else in need. Close it. So, that's it. Okay, guys. Thank you guys so much for that. I really do hope that you guys learned something, learned a little bit about me. I am so very happy to have had this opportunity to work with the adoption guide, and I hope that all the adopted people around the world, whether you're male or female, or it doesn't, that's irrelevant. If you have experiences of your own, or if you want to know more, if you want more in-depth videos, those are also on my channel that you guys can go and check out, and the links will be in the description to those videos. I hope that you guys all do enjoy, and like I always say, stay perfectly imperfect, and I'll see you all next time. Bye, guys. Hello, you beautiful people. It's Michelle Visage with What You Packin'.